ओम सर्व वेदांत सिद्धांत गोचरम तम गोचरम गोविंदम परमानंदम सद्गुरुं प्रणतोस्म्यहम्. Though last time we have read up to shloka 48 from Viveka Chudamani, I wish to go back to shloka 46, even 45. I read 46. Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga Mumukshor Mukter Hetun Vakti Sakshat Shrutergi यो वा एतेष्वेव तिष्ठति अमुष्व मोक्षो अविद्या कल्पिता देहबंधा. In 45, Shankar told his view in a way, Vedantartha vicharena jayate jnanam uttamam tenatyantika sansara dukkha nasho bhavati anu. This vichar has a definite meaning, we have explained. But in 46, he quotes a Shruti, Upanishad, the highest authority on both our ideas, our consciousness. And he says, Shraddha. You understood Shraddha? That the Shastras and my Guru, what they speak, that contains the truth. Supersensuous truth, which I am not able to perceive today, but they are telling me the way also. And if I use that way, I shall also see. So let me try. This much is Shraddha. Then Bhakti. Bhakti Swaswarupanusandhanam, Atmatattvanusandhanam, whatever you like to say. Bhakti is a pull. Bhakti is a force which pulls me to God. If you don't like the word God, it pulls me to my own reality. It pulls me to my real inner nature. So, Bhakti is the pull. It is a force. And then Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana, meditation, to be used as a means of God realization. That is called Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana Yoga means dhyana used as a means of God realization. Dhyana Yoga. These are the hetus. These are the three causes in the sequence. Starts with Shraddha, then we are in Bhakti, we feel a pulling force, then we meditate, and we use meditation for the realization of God. I would like to comment a little more on meditation. Meditation is not just a will or concentration. There is a grave mistake that we do. But meditation, first of all, is knowledge. Knowledge in the form of dharana or concept or conceptual knowledge. I know, though not by experience, and yet I am convinced that the reality is one without a second. I know that Brahman is my own real nature. And then some form of Brahman comes in my mind, normally, naturally, some form of Brahman comes in my mind. I know Brahman has no form. But when I try to meditate or think on Brahman, some form comes to my mind. Now the forms of Brahman are of three types, please. One is the celestial forms, like Shiva or Vishnu or Durga or Kali or all that. Some of that comes to my mind. In some people, more love as my own reality comes towards human forms of Brahman. That is what we call avatara. Maybe as soon as I try to think of reality, Rama comes in my mind, Krishna comes in my mind, Buddha comes in my mind, Jesus comes in my mind, Shri Ram Krishna comes in my mind, Chaitanya may be coming to somebody's mind. So that is the second type of form of Brahman, which naturally comes to my mind. That is due to my deep inner connection. Nobody makes it. It's very natural growth. And there is a third type of form. And that third type of form we call formless. We call it formless. But we have seen that formless means unspecified form. Like the lump of clay. like the ocean of water. An unspecified form comes to our mind, and therein lies all the systems which follow Nirakara Brahman. So one of these forms definitely comes to my mind. Those who believe Brahman to be all pervading, Akasha comes to their mind. Those who say Brahman is all pervading, a big ocean comes to that mind. So some form automatically comes to our mind. That is the very nature of the mind. So first is Swarupa, the knowledge that Brahman is one without a second, that the knowledge is Brahman alone is true, that the knowledge that Brahman itself appears as all, that must be at the root of meditation. And then when we try to meditate, some form comes to our mind. We may call it formless, but that is a form. We may call it divine forms, but that is a form. We may call it human form, but that is a form. And one of these forms must come to our mind when we try to think of the Brahman. Then the third thing, some relationship dawns on our mind. If Brahman is Rama, what is my relation to Rama? My relation to Rama is Rama my child. Kausalya feeling that. Dasharatha is otherwise feeling that. Today, many ladies, many men even feel that Rama is my child. And then Rama is my friend. Rama is my master. I am his servant. Rama is my beloved. Some form of relationship comes to the mind. But these are not the only forms. These are human relationships. Other than that, Rama is my being. Rama is my ultimate gati. Rama is my source. So there are so many numbers of philosophical forms. In the Gita 9th chapter, we see that Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Surut. Many forms are given. In the Gaudpadiya Mandukya Karika, 35 forms are given of relationship with that reality. That is a growth, natural growth in the mind. Nobody can impose his form on the other. Take now Bhagavan Krishna. Some people feel Bhagavan Krishna is my child. Swamiji has told in the Western countries that where there is an incarnation, it is a very useful relationship. Why not you people feel that Jesus is your child? That will make you for a quick growth. So, some form of relationship definitely comes to the mind. As I told you, need not be a specific worldly relation. But in the Gita it is said, God is your grandfather. Mata Dhata Pitama. Because some children are more loved by their grandfathers. Or in others' case, what happens? Father, when we think, our own physical father comes in the view. But there is a father of all fathers. So in that way, grandfather comes to the mind. So innumerable forms of relationship may be worldly type of relationship or philosophical type of relationships come to the mind. These three I call as knowledge or dharana, concept of God, contains these three things. The nature of reality, some form of the reality, whether specified or unspecified, some form of relationship, worldly or philosophical. This is the base of meditation. Now, when such is the thing that bhakti or that pulling force is the next thing in meditation. Because such is God for me, God pulls me. I feel a pull towards God. So both jnanam and bhakti are essential parts of meditation. But in spite of that, due to my worldly sanskaras, I feel a pull here, I feel a pull there, I feel a pull there. So then will is used. Will is used to withdraw the mind from other portions where it is pulling me and to put it in God. But to put it in God is not by will alone. Unless there is this jnana, unless there is this bhakti, what can you do by will only? And that is the mistake most of us do. They think dhyana means pull, will. Will, dhyana will not succeed at all. So dhyana in my mind, or you think in all your minds, dhyana consists of these three things. The knowledge as dharana, a pull towards that reality, and then will fulfills it because the mind has sanskara and mind gets pulled here and there, son, daughter, this, that, so many objects of enjoyment, so many things are there which pull the mind due to our old sanskara. Then withdraw them and put them in God. That is called dhyana. This is the dhyana used for as a means of God relation, dhyana yoga. So, Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana Yoga, this becomes the base, Hetu. Mumuksha, but Mumuksha should be there, otherwise, what is the use of that? Without Mumuksha, we have heard so many types of dhyanas, useless. That may give concentration in the mind, that may give so many experiences. But what is that? Unless we are pulled towards God, unless we have a strong desire for liberation, what is the use of this type of dhyanas? And then people are immersed in dhyana. It may give some relaxation, it may give this or that. What is the use in our spiritual life? So mumuksha is at the base of everything. Because I want to become free, so I am using dhyana as a means of that freedom, and that is preceded by Shraddha and Bhakti. This is what Mukter Hetu. They are the reasons or basis on which the mumukshu is going to get his mukti. If he is not mumukshu, he is not going to get mukti. He may use bhakti for so many, what we call sarthapari bhakti. That is no bhakti. That will not lead you to moksha. Shraddha. Shraddha is so peculiarly used word. I have Shraddha. I need not think. I have Shraddha. All they have no meaning. Shraddha I have just now defined, or Shraddha is defined in Nachiketa's life. When Shraddha entered him, he started thinking. That is the fact. So, we have seen that Mukter Hetur Vakti Sakshat Shrutergi. Shrutergi means the Vani of Upanishads. The Upanishads Vani are telling these are directly the means of mukti. Though Shankara has given vichara above, and we have seen that the place of vichara is different from our normal viveka, that have I realized or something is still there, sticking to my mind, that is called viveka. Have I reached God or not yet? This is the called viveka. So that is there. But Shruti is telling the direct means of mukti is Shraddha, Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga for a mumukshu. And then to emphasize this, to confirm this, Shruti is telling us, Yova eteshu eva tishtati. Eteshu eva, that means he does not do anything else. Eteshu, that means Shraddha, Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga. One who tishtati, one who pursues this without a break, one who pursues this with nishtha, one who pursues this steadfastly. Amushya moksha. Then next for him is moksha. Now what is moksha also is defined here. Avidya kalpita deha bandha. That body is a kalpana of our mind due to wrong knowledge. And that body is producing a bandage for me. All sons and daughters and fathers and mothers are connected with us from the body. And that body itself is a bandhan, and all the things connected with the body are a bandhan, and we have to get mukta from this. And this is the direct means declared by the Shruti. And Shruti has told that one who stays with this steadfastly, he need not do anything else. So we understand the emphasis of Shraddha Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga, which contains Bhakti, Shraddha Bhakti and Dhyana Yoga, which contains knowledge, which contains Bhakti, which then application of the will. Now one force remains, and that is karma. What about karma? Unless we do unselfish work, unless we do dedicated work, these things are not possible. In the sixth chapter of the Gita, Shankara has said that though meditation is the inner means, the outer means is karma. Unless there is a karma, there is no meditation. So all the four systems which we know are used in this Dhyana Yoga, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga, Mumuksha. Shruti is telling directly they are the means of bhakti, mukti, or the mumukshu. And if you steadfastly stay with this, you don't require anything else. That is what the Viveka or Buddhi Prakriya, Swami Vivekananda said, is like a scavenger. To clean the road, we should not have prick some thorn or we should not fall in the ditch. So Buddhi is used. But these days, so-called tradition of Vedanta has made Buddhi the supreme, and that is why no question of experience is coming. Well, if I tell some names, well, without telling the names, I will tell. There is a very strong school in India and also maybe in foreign countries. And those people say that there is nothing called dhyana, there is nothing called samadhi, there is nothing called supersensuous experience. You study Vedanta with us and you become a Vedanti. Is it not misleading? Is it not cheating people in a way? They have a book on Viveka Chudamani where they have selected 108 verses from 580 and none of them deals with dhyana, samadhi or experience. And I had a, what you say, flash or something. That means I spoke in the same sabha where one of their representative was speaking. And he said, don't expect any mystic experience. Without expecting any mystic experience, we will get mukti. Without experiencing that I am God, will you get mukti? If you get conviction that I am God, will you get mukti? Impossible. So, this is a school of thought which is as bad as the Asura Sampati school of thought. As the Asuras deviate our mind and take it elsewhere, this theoretical Vedantis is a big Purva Paksha today. And we must be clear in our mind that without proper experience from this Viveka Chudamani, I selected 108 verses dealing purely with dhyana, samadhi, and anubhava. And how can they will be removed? And the author there says that though Viveka Chudamani, every shloka is beautiful, but there is thematic repetition. There is no repetition. At a proper context, the same thought comes again in a different form. And so they credit somebody from their own sampradaya. He has selected 108 shlokas which are dealing with all the topics in Viveka Chudamani. Those people who believe in them, what will happen? Dhyana is not a topic. Samadhi is not a topic. Experience is not a topic. While the Viveka Chudamani says, we'll come across those shlokas, those who talk of Brahman without experiencing, you know that, without taking the medicine, only by naming the medicine, we do not get cured. In the same way, Vina Aparokshanubhavam Brahma Shabdair na muchyate. Very clearly, yes, sir. Let me quote here one more shloka from, there is Udasi Baba, name I don't remember. Beautiful commentary has written on Viveka Chudamani in Hindi. And he has quoted old authority for explaining this shloka. And there he has given a simile. We are standing near a tree, and there is a pond below that tree. And the fruits are on the top of the tree, and their reflection is in the pond. Seeing that, if we dance with joy that we have eaten that fruit, what will happen to that man? That is the shloka he has quoted in explanation of this shloka. So this is a very delusive, misleading thought that without any proper experience, without meditation, here he says, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga, Mumushur Sakshat Bhakti Shrutir ki. And without meditation, he says only Shankar Siddhanta will release us. How Shankar Siddhanta will release us? Anyway, so I wanted to go back to this Shloka 46 and then example for that 47. Okay, so Ajnana Yoga Paramatmana Tava Jnanatma Bandhas Tata Eva Sanskriti Hi Anatma Bandha Tata Eva Sanskriti Tayor Vivekodita Bodhavanir Ajnana Karyam Pradahet Samolam. It is due to the wrong knowledge about the reality that anatma thing, that which are not you, that which are not real, are binding you. And from that, this transmigration taking place. Unless you have clear discrimination. And what happens by discrimination? Viveka Bodhavani, a fire like dawns in your mind. And that burns all the products of ignorance, all the products of wrong knowledge, burnt samulam, right from their root, which is wrong knowledge. All that is burnt. Here we find, after this Guru's talk, we find a Shishya Uvacha. As we find the Vivek Chudamani from this point or a little before that has been presented as a dialogue between Shishya and Guru. So Shishya Uvacha. Krupaya Shruyatam Swamim Prashnoyam Kriyate Maya Yaduttaramaham Shrutva Krutharthasyam Bhavanmukhat. Oh my master, I am presenting a question before you. And when I get the reply to that question from your mouth, I will have achieved what is to be achieved in this life. What is this question? O nama bandha katamesha agata katham pratisthasya katham vimoksha kosau anatma paramah katma tayor viveka katham etad uchyata. So whatever words the Guru has used, Shishya wants to know the inner meaning of those words. What is this bandha? You are told that there is bandha. What is that bandhan? Kathamesha agata, how it has come to me. Katham pratishthasya, how does it continue? Where is the sustenance of this bandhan? Katham vimoksha, how do I get released from this bandhan? Kosav anatma, what you are talking of something not me. Paramatma, who is really myself, and what is their discrimination between this and that? Please tell me about this. So he asked comprehensive questions. Nothing remains other than that, because the Guru has said that this is how you will become Mukta. So he asked about all of them. Sri Guru Ruvacha Dhanyosi Kritakrityosi Pavitam Te Kulam Tvaya Yad Avidya Bandha Muktva Brahmi Bhavatum Ichhasi. Blessed are you from these questions. Krita Krutyosi, you have done whatever should be done in life. It is called Bhavishyad Vrutya. Pavitam te kulam toya. You have purified your kula, that you want to get free from wrong knowledge bandhan. And by becoming free, you want to become Brahman itself. His desire of yours has made you blessed and purified your whole family. ऋणमोचन कर्तारः पितुः सन्ति सुतादयः बन्धमोचन कर्ता तु स्वस्मात् अन्यो न कंचन. If you have incurred some debt, if the father has incurred some debt, the sons come forward to mitigate that debt. But if you are bound and you want to be free from that, nobody else can do. You yourself have to do. So spiritual struggle is the paramount in life. Other things people can manage, but not the mukti, that you have to struggle yourself. Another example, Mastakanyasta bharade dukkham annirnivaryate kshudadikruta dukkham tu vinasvenana kenachit. If you have some heavy weight on the head, some people can come and share it, or you can transfer to them. But if you are hungry, if people eat, it will fulfill you. So, kshudadikruta dukkham adi, hungry or thirsty, vinasvenana kenachit. Unless you yourself eat food or you yourself drink water, nobody else can do it for you. These examples are used to emphasize the self-effort in the direction of mukti. Another example, Pathyam Aushadha Seva cha kriyate yena rogina arogya siddhir drishtasya nanya nushtita karmana. Rogina, we have disease, and that disease is samsara disease. Now for that you have to take some medicine, and also you have to follow certain restrictions. Aushadha Seva and Pathya, that man who has that disease, when he does it, then we see that he has got his normal health again. If somebody else does something, how can it give you health? So, for your own health, you have to take the medicine and observe Pathya. Examples he has given. Vastu Swarupam Sfutabodha Chakshusha Svenaiva Vedyam Natu Panditena Chandra Swarupam Nija Chakshusaiva Gata Vimanneiravagamyate Kim. Vastu Swarupam. Vastu means the reality. Swarupam means its real nature. Sfutabodha Chakshusha. Unless there is a change in your consciousness. If your consciousness changes, they become the eyes. Clear. Clear change of consciousness are the eyes. And from that eyes, you can see Vastu Swarupam. Svenaiva Vedyam. That is what you have to do. Natu Panditena. Some scholar explains things to you. That will not give you change of consciousness. That will not give you mukti unless you have change of consciousness yourself. Example, you want to see the moon. Somebody else sees the moon, that will not satisfy you. Nija chakshusha eva chandra swarupam gyatavyam. Annai ravaganta skim. If somebody says moon is like that, moon is like that, what is that to you? Unless you have seen. Avidya kama karma adi pasha bandham vimochitum kashaknuyad vinatmanam kalpa koti shatairapi. What are the bandhan? Wrong knowledge. What the wrong knowledge gives? Desires. What the desires make us do? Some karma. And then Adi. Adi means there will be a result of that karma. That will give sanskaras. Then again you will do karma. Again, you will get some fruit and cancer. These are the bandhana. You must understand what is binding you. Our imperfections are binding us. Our desires are binding us. How starts with wrong knowledge, giving desires, because wrong knowledge means I am a bhakta and this world is my bhakta. And so that gives desires of every type. And then you must do something prompted by that desires. That is the karma normally. And they are the fetters which are binding us. Adi. And these bandhans to remove vimochitum kashaknuya, who is capable of doing that, vina atmanam, you yourself to remove. How your wrong knowledge can go otherwise? Kalpa koti shatairapi, kalpa koti shatair. You know what is kalpa? One cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction. Not yugas, one kalpa. And kalpa koti shatair, crores of hundreds of kalpas will not help you unless you make your own effort. न योगेन न सांख्ये न कर्मणा नो न विद्यया ब्रह्मात्मैकत्व बोधेन मोक्षा सिद्ध्यति नान्यथा. Here Shankar is directly referring to Patanjali Yoga and the Sankhya philosophy. Patanjali Yoga cannot give you moksha straight away because there Purusha Bhautvam Siddham. You will be different from Prakriti, but Prakriti is real and you like people are so many. That is what yoga aims at. How they can release you. If Prakriti is real, how will you not feel attraction to that? If you are separate from others, what is mukti? And this is based upon the Sankhya philosophy. So a lot of discrimination people do on the basis of Sankhya. I am not this, I am not that, I am not this. How will it give you mukti? You may not be this or this, but you are different from others. How they will give you mukti? Then some people believe by doing karma you will get mukti. By doing karma, we have seen previously that karma gives you chitta shuddhi. So how will karma? Karma means subject dealing with objects. That is the nature of karma. Nona vidya, scholarship. By scholarship will not get mukti. Then how we are going to get? Brahmatmaikatva bodhe na. When you will feel that what you are feeling as yourself and the universal self, they are one and one only. Both. When your consciousness becomes like that, not intellectually understanding, but when your consciousness changes into this, that what I was feeling as myself and what is the universal self, they are not true. Same thing I was feeling as mine. Moksha siddhati. Moksha becomes proved. Moksha becomes an established fact. Nanyata. By no other way. This is not fanaticism. This is the final result. Whether any yoga you are following, unless you reach this change of consciousness, there is no moksha. Examples he gives. वीणाया रूप सौंदर्यम तंत्री वादन सौष्ठवम प्रजारंजन मात्रम तद न साम्राज्याय कल्पते. During Shankara's time, most probably, or before him, there was a famous king Udayana. And Udayana was expert in Veena playing. And that Veena also was beautiful. And when he used to play Veena, people used to be charmed and listen to that. That Shankar is giving the example. This is not an imaginary example. There was a king Udayana. There are dramas on that. His minister was expert. He made him do the Rajkarma. Pratidnya Yogandharayan was the minister. So there are many dramas made on that. So this Udayana was expert in playing the Veena. Vinaya Rupa Saundarya. And that Veena also was beautiful to look at. Tantri Vadana Kaushalam. Tantri means one who is playing at it, is expert in Vadana. Praja Ranjana Matram. Praja will be happy, feel no Samrajaya Kalpate. That will not make you an emperor, or that cannot keep your empire ready. This example he gives. Then he comes to scholars or speakers like me. वाग्वैखरी शब्दझरी शास्त्र व्याख्यान कौशलम वैदुष्यम विदुषाम तद्वत् मुक्तये न तो मुक्तये. Vaikari, he can speak fluently. Shabdajhari, words flow from his mouth like a stream. And he is expert in explaining the scripture, Shastra Vyakhyana Kaushalam. Vaidushyam, scholarship. Of course, that is not mine. Huh? Vidusham, of these scholars, the scholarship of the scholar, that is all for his enjoyment, not for. So much clear Shankar is there that he can speak nicely, words flow from his mouth, he can explain the Shastras expertly, and he has a scholarship. For the scholar, they are for Bhoga, not for Mukti. अविज्ञाते परे तत्वे शास्त्राधीतिस्तु निष्फला विज्ञाते परे तत्वे शास्त्राधीतिस्तु निष्फला. Unless vigyate means not knowledge in the ordinary sense, vigyata means experiential knowledge. Some people, again and again that thought comes, some people have told Shriram Krishna has a special Vijnana Yoga. But Vijnana we find everywhere in the Shruti, in Shankara, everywhere we find it. Experiential knowledge, Pare Tattva, of the absolute reality. Without that, scholarship in the scriptures is nishphala. It will not give any result. Shastra dhitistu nishphala. And then, suppose you have known the truth, then what is Shastra dhiti? So he is not condemning Shastra dhiti, he is telling for what purpose it should be used. If you know the scriptures well, but you have not realized the goal, then what is the use of that scripture study? And if you have realized the goal, what is Shastra for you? So, in these two ways, he says, Shastra knowledge is to be used only for realizing the reality. So, in a poetical way, he has put like this. Again, Shabdajalam Maharanyam Chitta Brahmana Karanam Ata Prayatnat Gyatavyam Tattvadnai Sattvamatmanaha. These words are a forest, big forest. The network of words is a big forest, and it is the cause of Chitta Brahman. I remember one scholar in Nagpur. People used to say that he knows everything, and that is only making for a confusion in his mind. So, the conclusion of all this, Tattvadnai, one who knows the truth about the reality, Prayatnat Dhantavya. You should make all the effort to know that. Tattvam Atmana, the fundamental reality of your own nature, that is what you should try to know, not scriptures and all these things. We'll find in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and in Vedanta, there is a like Putreshana, Vitteshana, etc. There is a Shastraishana. The desire to be expert in Shastras or addiction to Shastras. Example, Ajnana Sarpadashtasya Brahma Jnanaushadam Vina Kimu Vedaishcha Shastraishcha Kimu Mantre Kimu Aushadai. Wrong knowledge is like a snake which has bitten you. The medicine you have to take is Brahma knowledge. What will Vedas do to you? What will Shastras do to you? What will mantras do to you? What will the physical Aushadas do to you? It is not a real snake bite. Adnana, like a snake, has bitten you. So, Brahmajnana is the only medicine. Here comes that shloka which I was telling. न गच्छति विना पानं व्याधिर औषध शब्दतः विना परोक्षानुभवं ब्रह्म शब्दैर्न मुच्यते व्याधि न गच्छति औषध शब्दतः विना पानं व्याधि means you have some sickness will not go away by the word aushadha unless you drink that. Is it not very similar to same as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Siddhi, Siddhi, if you go on telling, it will not give you nasha. Siddhi is bhang or an intoxicant. And when that intoxicant is drunk, then you get the nasha, intoxication. Not by uttering the word Siddhi. Same thing Shankar is telling here. Now we have to discuss this, though we have in a different context, aparoksha anubhav. You remember, we started these classes after Patanjali Yoga and Narad Bhakti Sutra. Shankara's book first we took was Aparokshanam, and we have discussed a lot there. But in this Viveka Chudamani also, we must discuss it because this is an independent treatise. Everybody has not heard Aparokshanubhuti. So here we must find out what is Aparokshanubhav. We see something, what we call the direct knowledge. And it has been found out that direct knowledge is not direct. Whenever we try to know anything, we use our mind and indriyas. And how the mind and indriyas continuously cheat us, we do not know. And that is our protection. And then there are indirect means of knowledge, like logic, anuman, upaman, arthapatti, anupalabdhi, and what people tell us, shabda praman. None of them can give us knowledge of the ultimate reality. Only scriptures will give us when we experience that scripture. Now, this direct knowledge, so called, has been shown to be indirect because it is through the mind and the indriyas. Understand this. Suppose there is something in our mind, something, happiness, pleasure, love, hate, something in our mind. Can we see it through indriyas? Can we see it through our eyes, our ears? The other question is, do we require our ears or eyes to see it? No. Extend this. Something is our real nature. Can we know it by mind? No. Is mind required to know that which is inside the mind, which is inside our real self? No. Then how to know it? I will quote here, which I had quoted during those days, one very important incident in my life which I will never forget. Visualize, my Guruji was sitting in the chair and I was just standing behind him without any talk. Suddenly he said, mind is not the instrument of God realization. It made me think. And I started thinking, oh, mind is always oscillating. Unless it comes to a firm decision, how can I know God? Unless buddhi. By the time I came to this conclusion, he says, buddhi is not the means of God realization. I thought if my buddhi knows, that does not touch me. So what he says is true. Then I have to know Brahman. By the time I reached this, he said, ego is not the instrument of God realization. Then I said, this I and buddhi and mind, they are waves in the mind. And unless mind is waveless, the correct reflection of Brahman does not come, and I cannot know Brahman. So up till now, I was tentatively thinking, and he was replying. Now I came to the conclusion that he means Chitta. And by the time I reached this conclusion, he said, Chitta is not the means of God. Because Chitta is giving the reflection of Brahman. All your Patanjali Chitta Vritti Nirodha is giving you the reflection of Brahman. Then what is the means of God realization? I understood, and he also did not speak further. God is the instrument of God realization. Because I am God in reality, that God knows that itself. That is called aparoksha, non-indirect. Not through mind, not through buddhi, not through ego, not through chitta, not through anything, but it itself realizes itself. That is called aparoksha anubhava. Unless we reach that aparoksha anubhava, that friend said, don't expect any super sensuous experience. Is this sensuous experience? Sensuous experience will always be indirect. Behind the senses will be mind. So mind, senses, and then some experience. Can it release me? So that is what Shankar is telling here. Change of consciousness to the point that you are not using your mind. You are not using your indriyas. So what is the means? They say purify, purify. What does purification do? I'll give an example. If there is a muddy water, it's difficult to come out of it. But if the water is pure, we can come out of it. So when the mind is pure, we come out of the mind. Mind is not the instrument of God realization, but we are asked to purify, purify. Because when the mind is purified, when indriyas are purified, mind is purified, then we come out of it. And for realization of Brahman, mind is not needed. What is needed is our own non-indirect experience, because the direct has been shown to be indirect. So we cannot use the word pratyaksha. So the meaning is super pratyaksha. That is what Shankara is telling here. Without that type of experience, by uttering the word Brahma, you cannot become Mukta. That experience itself is Mukti. When you directly, non-indirectly know that you are Brahman, then that itself is Mukti. And without that, there is no Mukti. So long as you are a Jiva apart from Brahman, what is the Mukti? Even if you go to Vaikuntha or Kailash or Brahmaloka or Ramakrishna Loka, where is it Mukti? So, this is the statement. Then process. Akrutva drishya vilayam agyatva tattvamatmanah brahma shabdai kuto muktir ukti matra phaler nirna. Again emphasized. Drishya vilayam, we are seeing the world. And by change of consciousness, that should disappear. Drishya must disappear. And then only we can know our real nature. Only by uttering the word Brahma, we cannot get mukti. What is the result? Ukti matra nirna. You will go on speaking Brahman, Brahman, you will not get mukti. Mukti you will get only when drishya vilayam happens and you realize your own real nature. Here I will quote Sri Ramakrishna's disciple Shivananda, whom we call Mahapurush Maharaj, used to say, the negative side I am putting, that he had no desire to see somebody called God. He said, from my young age, my mind continuously tells me that the world is not there, world is unreal. But I perceive it. So, but I perceive it, he is not putting as an objection. Nah? How can I reach that state where I perceive that the world is not there? That was the craving in his heart. That means he was always craving for Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now he tried to go to Brahma Samaj, they believe in Nirakar. He found it is very shallow. Sri Ramakrishna was going to Ramchandra Datta's house, and Mahapurush Maharaj was staying in the neighborhood. So Ramchandra, they invited people in his neighborhood. And the famous, in those days, Sri Ramakrishna was known as Paramahansa. So Paramahansa Dev is coming to our house. You please also come. Now some hope sprouted. Paramahansa is one who has separated milk and water. Paramahansa is one who has realized the goal. So some hope sprouted and he went to see. And when he went, Sri Ramakrishna was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because he was a struggler for that, he could understand, oh, this is that state where no world exists. And when he came out of Samadhi, that day Sri Ramakrishna talked only about Samadhi. That was his speciality. Whatever the devotee wanted, he would become like that. So he understood that if I go to this person, I will get my goal of life. And Sri Ramakrishna also saw him and felt attracted and told him, you come there. That is Dakshineshwar. Next day, Mahaprabhu went there. I need not repeat the full story. Anyway, when he went there, Sri Ramakrishna was like waiting for him at the door. He saluted him. Sri Ramakrishna entered the room and called him inside. He thought it was a formal salutation I did. Now he's sitting, I will salute him nicely. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting. So he thought he will put his head on his foot. But while bending, he saw my mother is sitting there. Not his own mother, Garbhadharini, but mother. So instead of putting his head on the feet, he put the head on his lap. And Sri Ramakrishna said, have you seen, have you known? That changed his consciousness. And he saw Sri Ramakrishna as infinite ocean and himself as a small bubble out of that ocean. That was the relation. And so, Drishya Vilay. Mahaprabhuji is seeing the world, but he wants that state where the world will not be seen. And that is Drishya Vilay. So unless you do Drishya Vilay, and then only you can know really what you are. Only by using the word Brahman, you are not going to be mukta. Only uttering will be the result. Example. Akrutva Shatru Sanharam Agatva Khila Bhushriyam Rajahamiti Shabdanno Raja Bhavitumarhati. Unless you destroy your enemies, unless you conquer the kingdom, you cannot be a king. Only if you say, I am a king, I am a king, that will not make you a king. Just like I am Brahman will not make you Brahman. Enemies have to be killed. This Ajnana Bandhana is like enemy, it has to be destroyed. And the Brahman is all pervading. That you must see, and then only you will become Mukta. So this is the example given by him. And 65 describe the whole process. Whole process. Aptoktim khananam tayo tatho parishiladi utkarshanam svikruti. We'll take it up on the next time. This one shloka gives the whole process of how things happen, and that we shall take up on the next occasion. So we may stop here at shloka 64. Om Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.